led the basically this webinar again for placements. So it is all basically your efforts that the institute is now growing fast, and we hope your support in future also. And on behalf of IIIT Allahabad and our director sir and all our alumni staff, we wish you all the best, our alumni as well as our current students, and let this network be more and more strong in future, and your blessings to basically youngsters should remain there. So with this, I will ask Aditya to continue this session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now from here onwards, Vasil sir will coordinate about the further event. Vasil sir, over to you.
Okay, thanks Aditya. Thanks Anupam sir for the kind words and your nice introduction to this initiative that we are having. So just to set the context, so we already have one webinar related to placements and essentially life after IIIT Allahabad, like what to do after IIIT Allahabad, how to succeed in corporate lives. So I think Gunjit sir and a few other folks were already there in that session. So this is slightly in continuation to that, but the topic is slightly different, because right now in this particular webinar we will be mostly discussing from the point of view of campus placements. How to excel in campus placement, how to do better, what are the to-dos, to-don'ts for the campus placements and campus interviews. So just to keep the ball rolling, let's just start with quick introduction. Just try to keep the introduction within like 2 to 3 minutes, so that all the participants and the fellow alumni can know what we are doing, how we are doing currently as of now. If I can request the host to please pin all the panel members onto the screen, because as of now I can only see six folks on my screen. Okay, so let's just start with quick introduction. Let's go into a round robin fashion. We can start with Divij sir first. Sir, over to you.
Hey everyone, hey folks. So I grew up in Himachal. My name is Divij. I grew up in Himachal and then graduated from IIITA in 2012 as part of the BTech IT program. Since then, right after graduation, I joined Amazon. And today I've worked in 3 different geographies. I have worked in India in our Amazon, then I moved to US, I worked in Amazon US, and now I'm working in Amazon Germany. And I've also worked on 2 different areas of Amazon, you can say, like on the retail side of things, when you buy products, and also from on the AWS side of things, where you're selling software. So I was lucky enough to build a database from ground up. Other than that, I have been doing a lot of interviewing. So then that's primarily where I would contribute in this meeting today. I have done around 200 interviews so far for Amazon. And more importantly, I'm sort of a bar raiser at Amazon. A bar raiser at Amazon is a specialized set of interviewer, who's experienced in interviewing. And those are some of the things that I would be sharing with you today. So I've also worked at, other than Amazon, I've worked at Uber too for a short stint at 1.5 years, and for which I also interviewed in different companies, Microsoft, Google, Lyft, etc. And I had a bunch of offers. So I can also share my experience on how the campus placement interviews varies from the lateral hiring interviews later on in your career. So yeah, I think that is about me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Divij sir. Now I would like to move to Dr. Asadi. Sir, please, can you go ahead with your introduction?
Yeah. Hi, good evening, one and all. This is Dr. Asadi. Good evening, Anupam sir. I have completed my MTech at IIIT Allahabad 2002 first batch, and I have completed my PhD. And right now I'm working as a head research at Bluecrest University, Liberia. And last 6 months onwards, I'm working for Deloitte as a SME subject matter expert. I'm per day I'm interviewing 5 to 6 members who are having more than 10 to 15 years experience in the domains of data science and MS Azure, PySpark, AWS, and these are the domains I'm working as a SME. And total I have experience 18 years in teaching and industrial experience. And that's all from my side. Thank you, Vatsal.
Thank you, Dr. Asadi. Do we have Bindesh Pandey sir from MBA?
Yeah, Vatsal, I'm there.
Thank you, sir. Please, can you please go ahead
Okay.
with your introduction?
Yeah. So good evening, Anupam sir, and good evening to everyone at Triple IT. My name is Bindesh Pandey. I was part of the first batch of MBA at Triple IT. Otherwise, I'm from Delhi, been born, brought up here. In terms of my corporate experience, has been about 16 years in the industry now. I have, in fact, all along been part of the IT industry at large, and specifically with enterprise grade software product organizations. And given that, obviously, I had started my corporate life post MBA, so this has largely been functional, or as we tend to put it, management roles in sales, marketing, pre-sales, client engagement, alliances, and obviously, uh, after gaining certain experience, I have been part of various campus recruitment drives, going through various campuses, and also in that context, I'm hoping that I should be able to contribute a bit to the gathering here. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your introduction. Now I would move over to Gunjit sir. So, sir, over to you.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. So I am from 2014 pass out from IT branch. So I was born and brought up in Mirzapur. Now it is quite famous after the web series. And currently I live in Bangalore with my wife. I started my career from Samsung as an intern. Then in couple of months, joining full time, I quit, and then I joined Amazon. I still remember Devesh sir used to sit in a nearby bay in Amazon. So yeah, so in Amazon I used to work with a team which used to write softwares for Amazon warehouses. So I worked there for a year. On my first work anniversary, I again quit and I joined a startup. It was called gozefo.com. One of the co-founder was again an alumnus from Triple ITA. So, and I joined there as a third engineer, and grounds up we built a warehouse management system, schedule management system, then CRM tool. So I worked there 3.5 years, and then the company got acquired by Quicker, and then I decided to move. I joined Cred. Cred was again a new company. Back then it was a very small startup, just 6 months old. So I joined there as around like 10th engineer in the backend. Now the team size is like more than 10x. So currently I'm leading a team over there which takes care of credit card bill payment and card management at Cred. So most of my work has been related to fintech and e-commerce. Yeah, that's about me.
Thanks, Gunjit sir. I'd like to move to Rakesh Kumar Reddy. So over to you, Rakesh, for your introduction.
Professor Anupam, and also all the students at Triple IT. I'm from BTech 2013 batch. I did my bachelor's in ECE. So after my undergraduation, initially I worked at a startup named Infinia, and then quickly I had to move to another company called Mentor Graphics in the domain of VLSI. So I worked there at Mentor Graphics for around 3 to 4 years, and then I decided to do higher studies. So for that, I had to move to US. I pursued my master's at Carnegie Mellon University, and I'm currently working at Apple as a CPU design engineer. You might have heard of the recent state-of-the-art M1 chip processors, which is ruling the iPhone, iPad, and MacBooks. So I'm one of such teams who will be developing the M1 chip process. So glad to meet you all.
Thanks, Rakesh sir. Can I now invite Soumya ma'am, Soumya Srivastava?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vatsal. So I'm from the post-graduation batch of 2014. I completed my master's, my MTech at CI under the supervision of Professor Sudeep Sanyal. And I was placed with Amdocs and TCS via the campus placement from there. I chose to join Amdocs Pune and started my career as a backend engineer. Then I eventually grew into a full stack engineer, then an NLP engineer, a team lead, and now currently I'm working as a data engineer with LinkedIn as a part of the ads health initiative. So basically, we are building in-house monitoring tools to analyze and forecast the business health of the ads ecosystem at LinkedIn. Yeah, so that's a little bit about myself.
Thanks, Amir ma'am. Can I now invite Tanish Gupta, sir?
Yeah, so thanks. Yeah, so I completed my BTech IT program from IIIT 2015. Okay, and I'm born in Lucknow, and I started my career from National Instruments as an internship. Okay, after that, basically I joined Qbol. Qbol was into big data company. Okay, so I worked there across the tech stack. You can say like Spark, Presto, Hive. Okay, even contributed in some of the open source technologies in Spark. Okay, and then I shifted to DirectI. And under DirectI, I worked on basically Zeta. Zeta is basically a banking platform. Okay, so I worked there. Then as of today, I'm working on Razorpay. So I joined recently around 2 months ago, and I'm leading a team of like where basically we are like how you can do a one of the payments card method is credit card and debit card. Okay, so I'm handling that team as of now. And yeah, so I worked on countless technologies over the years. You can say I worked on big data also. I worked on SaaS platform also. Okay, and yeah, so maybe I will be able to contribute in this session about technology discussion or maybe anything related to the you can say the SD or any other you can say apart from SD, like what other options we can choose to go further. Yeah, I think that's it from my side. Yeah.
Thanks, thanks, Tanish, sir. May I please invite Nitin Bhatnagar, sir, for his quick introduction?
Hi everyone. This is Nitin, and I work for PCI Security Standards Council, and I'm sure many of you would know. And I heard people coming from Zeta, Cred, and many other large organizations working, and as I'm from who have worked, who have actually stayed in IIIT Allahabad. Glad to connect with everyone, and thanks for the opportunity that you guys have given us to share what is happening across in the world when it comes to the recruitment with the pandemic, moving everyone to work from home, and we are just trying to see how we can get maximum from the colleges that we have studied in the past. Glad to connect again with everyone, and I've been just to give you a quick. I work for CISA Information Security, which is one of the India's largest information security company based in Bangalore. I got recruited way back in 2009 from IIIT Allahabad from the campus, and did my master's in cyber law information security. And I think that changed the whole throughout my career. And I think there's a lot of opportunities that I foresee, when it comes to information security and data security. And I think if you have any questions pertaining, how you want to grow your career in information security, data security, what kind of certifications that you should look at, what is going to help you in getting your dream job, when it comes to information security, I'm always here to support you and guide you. Feel free to ask me any questions that you may have around that and how these interviews happens in the information security domain. And I think that's all. A quick, short and sweet, quick description from my side.
Thanks, thanks, Nitin, sir. All right, so let me just outline the format of this discussion. So basically, we have actually compiled a lot of questions from the current batch who is actually going to graduate and appear for the placements. So we have compiled a lot of pressing questions. So we'll be discussing in the next 30 minutes of session. And please feel free to chime in with your suggestions or with your opinions or comments. So just let's try to keep it an open-ended discussions, and then after 30 minutes we'll try to open the floor to for all the participants also, so that if let's say if we have missed something they can directly ask, or if there are any other pressing issues related to hiring and campus recruitment, how it works, what to do, what not to do, and what are the things to expect from, in the interviews, what types of questions, how to attempt interviews. So this is the main agenda that we will like to discuss. And please try to keep your comments short, so that most of us get time to express our comments and opinions and views. Okay, all right. So let's just start with the most pressing issue, and this is related to all the BTech IT and EC students, that DSA, data structures and algorithm. This is the most important skill that you need to have while during the interview. That's in order to clear the interview. But is this skills important, similarly important when it comes to job? So, David sir, what is your take on this? So, DSLGO, does it holds as valuable importance while doing your job as well? And yeah, one more point to add, as Gunjit sir just added, please keep all your queries on the chat till the time we are discussing. All the participants, I would request, if you have any queries, you can please use the chat window, so that we can parallelly answer some of your queries on the chat window as well. Okay, over to you, David sir.
Cool, thank you. Uh, this is a question that I get a lot, when people are interviewing with us. And think of it like you're an engineer, and these are your foundational tools which you are going to use in your system design and other problems that you will be solving. And let me just give you two examples. So the answer is yes, like those are useful, but let me give you two concrete examples. So let's say, for example, like in your day-to-day job, you want to read a file and store it in a sorted manner in memory, right? A usual operation which you'll do for building any software. But now you could either do it via single thread, do a full scan of the file and then put it into the memory and then sort it. Or you can do it via multiple threads, read only chunks, and perform a merge sort algorithm on it. So this is one example where merge sort, which you learn in your data structures and algorithms course, is directly applicable to a very small task that you do in the industry. Another problem is in your interviews, you'll find that people are asking about how to create a queue out of a stack, or how to create a stack out of, or using a stack, create a queue, or those kinds of questions. Now, a direct application for that is when you want to use a ring buffer in your program. And why you would want to use a ring buffer is because you don't want more objects to be allocated on JVM heap. Let's say if you're using a Java-based language. So these smaller things, how to create a ring buffer, how to do merge sort in a distributed manner, they do come into the picture in your day-to-day life. Like I have more examples, but I'll perhaps share with you offline on if you have more, if you're curious about more such things.
All right, thanks, Dev sir. Gunjit sir, what do you think? DSLGO during the job?
Sure. So I have a little contrary view on this. Definitely DS algo is really, really important. As Devis sir mentioned, those are like fundamental skills, right? But having said that, just giving the complete time to that might not make sense. The scenario in hiring is little changing today. Companies are not even not just asking DS algo, but companies, especially startups, are looking for folks who have done some real world software engineering. So what people are, one thing I have noticed, like people are doing really good at competitive programming. They know all the algorithms, etc. But they are not doing good in real world software engineering. So what is real world? Real world is ambiguous. There is no one right answer. There is never one best way to do things. There are no constraints given. Things that work today might not work tomorrow. For example, a flood came in Mumbai and the data center stopped, right? So thinking in those terms also, right? Ki how do we how to add retries in our code? So in CP, competitive programming, we never add a retry logic. Okay, one logic which fails will fail always, right? But in real world, it doesn't happen. API which is down will be up in some time, and a retry will work. So, and hence, my view is that not just DS algo definitely a required skill, but is not the only skill. Uh, Someone like who is doing GSOC, who is participating in open source, who's adding meaningful projects, right? Solving any fuzzy problem is doing great.
Okay. Thanks, Manjit sir. Now I'd like to move a very pressing question that is there for all the MTech folks, and Soumya ma'am, feel free to chime in on this question. Basically, a lot of the MTech folks have a question. Basically, let's say they worked in some company like prior to their MTech, like right after BTech, they might have worked into TCS or any other company. So the question is, they have lost the touch from those technologies. Let's say someone has worked on some technology in TCS for like, let's say 2 years, then they actually prepared for a master's, and then they are doing their MTechs. So in their resume, should they mention those skills on which they are not really hands-on with, and but they have worked on it? And how should they add all these relevant experiences on their CVs that can help their profile? I mean, first question is whether it will help or not, and second question, if it will help, how they should present it.
So
Yeah.
every experience that you have is valuable here, right? So please, I would definitely encourage that if you have a good hold on your project, or the product that you are working on, it could just be a very small feature. If you can explain it, please do ensure that you're putting it on your resume. It does not have to be that you need to be very well versed with the language or the technology that you're using over there, but you should be able to at least explain high level what was the approach, what was the design, and what were the challenges that you faced, and how did you solve it. I see a lot of hands raising up, so I'll let them chime in too.
Over to you,
Yeah,
Bilesh sir, if you want to chime in on this one.
yeah,
Yeah.
Vatsal.
Thanks. Was there
Yeah,
anyone?
Bindu sir, you continue after you. I have a
Okay,
answer for
fair.
this question also. I'll take 1 minute
Okay.
time.
Sure.
Okay, fair enough. So see, obviously I am not a tech expert, right? So my answer is not from the tech side of things, but I'll tell my answer or my input is more from the perspective that when, let's say, I look at a resume, what opinions or how do we really look at a resume? And I think in that context, I'll probably try to answer this question and maybe add a few more points. So see, if you have done something in life, academically or professionally, you should write it. Okay, because let us say you choose not to write it, or probably don't talk about that experience, definitely somebody could wonder that what you did for those 2 or 3 or 4 years of your life, right? So whatever you have done academically, professionally, please do write. However, I have often seen CVs where people sometimes go overboard, and they probably write that they solved 10,000 problems while they were working on in a company, right? I think we should avoid the temptation to go overboard. As a prospective employer, whether I'm looking at a fresher or I'm looking at a lateral hire, people expect you to be sincere and honest about what you really did. So just as an example, people often try to downplay work which they might have done in the QA side of it, testing side of it. People feel that it doesn't really reflect well, and I should probably project I did some real coding, so to say. I really created something. But as an employer, I'll tell you that we don't look at it that way. Because we understand that how organizations function, everybody is given a responsibility, and I think as long as you are able to explain whatever you did, testing, documentation, etc., 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 well enough, you should be good. And secondly, let's say if you write something and you're honest about it, and you don't know, uh, you can be, again, like I said, be honest, be sincere about it, that okay, what you know or don't know, right? I think as an employer, from a soft skill perspective, people appreciate honesty and sincerity, and a general hygiene vis-a-vis resumes. A thumb rule, I would say, whenever you are preparing your resumes, try to keep it under 2 pages. I see resumes sometimes 4, 5, even 6 pages. People writing, again, whole lot of stuff, school projects, every semester projects, and so on. Keep it short, keep it relevant. So that's probably a general hygiene thing. Yeah, that is it from my side.
Thanks, Bindesh sir. Dr. Sadi, please,
Yeah, yeah,
contribute your
yeah,
thought, and then I'll move to David sir and Nitin sir.
yeah. I'll take 1 minute. Whoever completed Master of Technology, my sincere suggestion is uh, they must be strong, whatever the projects they have done at BTech level and MTech level. And the companies are looking after completion of MTech. What are the research areas right now you are finding in your domain? So let us suppose take in data science or machine learning or deep learning or in PySpark or big data technologies. You focus on the limitations of the technology and what are the issues and challenges right now the technologies are facing. Concentrate on those things, and a little bit you can highlight, I'm interested to work on these limitations or challenges. If you say such kind of interest over those challenges or issues, definitely the interviewer will look into, oh, this guy already know the subject content and is looking for challenges in this current domain. So that is from my side, Vatsal.
Thanks, Dr. Sadi. Over to you, David sir. Just a comment to add. Let's say I'm an MTech student. After my BTech, I worked on SAP for like 1 year or less than a very short span. So, and right now it's already 3 to 4 years. I don't know anything, like I don't recall anything about SAP. So, will it make sense to add that skill and then during the interview or during the recruitment process tell the interviewer that I don't know anything about SAP as of now, but I've worked on it. Maybe if I'll refresh my skills, then I might be able to work on it. So is it a good decision to take?
Let me tell you from an interviewer perspective over here. So when we are, so I think I would like to put emphasis on, if you are writing something on your resume, you should know about it. And the reason why I'm saying that is because in an interview, there are two aspects. One is the technical aspect where we test you on your functional skills, coding, data structure, etc. And then there is another aspect called leadership aspect, where we try to ask, like, what are the different challenging situations that you have been put through? How did you overcome, different obstacles and so on? So in the second part, your stories from your prior jobs, those become relevant. But then from an interviewer perspective, it's also another one of my job to understand, are you telling somebody else's story or are you actually telling your story? And if you don't know the nitty gritty and details of your story, then as an interviewer, that might make me believe, hey, maybe you didn't really do this thing. So so if you are putting something on your resume, make sure you prepare beforehand to answer very deep questions about it. Because from an interview perspective, that's one of my ways to figure out, like, how much do you know about that area, and based on that, I will judge whether you did it or not.
Yeah. Thanks, David sir. Over to you, Nitin sir, if you want to add anything to this point.
No, I think what I just wanted to add is, uh, I think I heard everyone. I think communication also plays a very important role. When you, uh, when I have interviewed in the past, I think hundreds of people, and I think one important thing, you have a resume which is precise and concise to what you have done, but how you present that to the interviewer, I think the one who is interviewing you, is also very critically important. It doesn't matter really. For me, my interviews, typical time for my interviews are like 15 minutes. I don't really drag those interviews more than that. And I have seen people taking interviews for 1 hour. It goes sometimes to 1.5 hours, 2 hours. But literally, what is important, how well in your initial 5 minutes you're able to convince what you have been able to accomplish, and how you're able to accomplish that. And most critically, many interviewers that I have seen, and probably I'll tell you my point of view, what I have seen and what I have been doing is I always do a little background research on the candidates before I interview. So having yourself more robust and very what you're mentioning in your resume, it should also be mapping to what your social media profile sometimes have in it, or probably what you are accomplishing as some of the achievements while you are actually within in the institute doing your education. Those all should map very clearly to with your resume, and what you're speaking and how well you are able to communicate plays also very crucial role.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Maybe
Vinesh, now
Vatsal,
coming to,
if I may just add to, I think Nitin made a very useful point in terms of the communication, and I think that I'll probably like to contextualize that for the students here. I see we have most under BTech and MTech and probably MBA students. Some of them probably may have some prior work particularly on the postgrad side, right? I think you need to look at students need to look at it this way, that let us say there are probably two candidates I am facing as an interviewer, right? Or I have interviewed two people, and if all being equal, right? The tech skills and everything being equal, the academic backgrounds being probably similar, right? That's where I think your comm skills would differentiate. So if I have two candidates both with equal tech skills, I will naturally be tilted to a guy who's probably better in articulating their thoughts or communication. So I think that's where communication becomes important. I often see students, especially those from engineering background, they perceive that, okay, I need to be good at tech, and probably the softer skills are not that important. I think that's a perception we need to really, change. Your softer skills are equally important. Naturally you are hired for your tech skills, but the softer side of it is equally important. So don't ignore that.
yeah, yeah. All right, thanks, Vinesh, sir. Actually, the next question was, I was actually coming to you only, which is very similar to this topic only. So that's why I want to continue that way. So for MBA students, the maximum queries are basically, what are the skills that we should prepare for? For BTech folks or MTech folks, it's like simpler that, you can prepare your projects, you can prepare your tech DS skills, other different tech subjects. But for MBA students, what kind of projects that they should do in order to help them while recruitment during campus, during their college days? What kind of projects they do use? What kind of skills do they acquire? Does software skills matter more in MBA jobs, or is it the same?
Okay. I'll probably take slightly longer still. Okay, because the question is slightly generalized. So to be honest, I think there is limited in terms of what kind of projects you get to pick as students. The question is that what kind of projects we can do, right? I think so. If you're talking about summer internships or any projects which you are doing for industry, eventually you would probably do what, let's say, the industry asks you to do. So that's where you would be limited by choice, right? But let's say if you have certain interest in certain areas. So for example, if you feel that you are a person who's good with the analysis side of things, and I'll probably link it to what we do in triple IT, because we do a lot in context of IT. So I'm not going to talk a lot about, let's say, MBA in context of marketing or HR and so on. I'll probably link it to IT. So if you look at somebody, if I am look at somebody who's coming from a triple IT kind of a background, he's an MBA. My expectation as an interviewer, as a potential employer, would be that you understand the fundamentals, the functional aspects of technology. So for example, if I would expect you, I would not probably expect you to know a lot about the coding things, because I'm hiring you for a very different skill set. But I will definitely expect you to know that, for example, what at a very high level is a SDLC cycle. how do really programs get built? What do we mean by sprint? Why do we do even sprints, right? In the functional context, so that you understand that, okay, what's the process we go through in the industry. Otherwise, like I think Nitin and Divij did mention, and this is applicable even to MBA folks, that whatever you are writing in your CV, as long as you are able to defend it, as long as you are able to talk about it. So if you did a project, for example, like I said, business analysis, somebody did analysis project, a business analyst kind of a project, then are you able to really talk about it? You went to industry, you did something, you tried to work on a problem. Do you really know, can you really talk about it? Did you really go into depth? So fundamentally, we are looking at people, we are not expecting you to know all, but we expect you to know what you have written in your CV and be able to talk what you have written in your CV. And then then we essentially hire for aptitude, because let's say when I am, for example, in Infosys Pinnacle versus I am hiring you for, say, Tech Mahindra, I'll probably be hiring you for two different things. I may hire from same campus, right? So essentially, we look at people who have good comm skills, who probably understand what they have done, but more importantly, whom we feel have the aptitude and attitude to be trainable, so that we, you exhibit those skills in that process. It is, when we hire people, it is probably what, a 1 hour, 2 hour process. You can't really judge an individual in that window, right? But we look at these indications and then try to make a judgment. And one of those indications is the guy trainable? Is the guy, the aptitude and attitude he's showing, is he on the right track? I think that's probably a long drawn answer to the question. Yeah, that is it.
I agree with Bindesh. I think just wanted to add one more thing. I think the important aspect in the any interview is also how you are presenting yourself. I think that's very, very, very critical. And I think having yourself presentable, going in front of the interviewer is very important, because that shows how you're going to be within the company when you are hired, right? So man, that's what I usually look at the candidates, is basically, if you are well dressed, well, have that understanding on what exactly that you're trying to accomplish, and most importantly, I usually judge people how trustworthy they could be when they join us, and how long they would be able to sustain within the organization that I work for, or probably any other organization that you look at. So these are the parameters that you should definitely look at, and have some rehearsals within yourself, with yourself. I would say just stand in front of a mirror. And my my the one my ex boss, and I think the one who hired me almost like a decade back, he told me that, if you want to really rehearse and want to really know who you are, stand in front of a mirror and just give yourself a chance, like you're speaking to the, the someone who is interviewing you, and see, how well you're able to answer their questions. Mirror reflection gives you an answer by itself. So if you are going for an interview, try this. I'm sure this is going to work. It worked, at least for me, post I was hired, and I, just to be very frank, the presentation skills was like, for me, my boss told me, he asked me to make a presentation. He said that, Nathan, you have just, if I have to rank you between 10 out of 10, you just on 2. And then that's a lesson that I learned at that point of time. And I think that is a message that I would have to have everyone, is that if you want to really get yourself to that mark, do that rehearsals well in advance.
Thanks, Nitin sir, for chiming in on this one. So I would like to go to Rakesh sir, and obviously Dr. Asadi can chime into this particular question. So let's say if I'm a BTech EC, or let's say MTech EC student, and I want to work on VLSI or any core electronics related domain, what are the aspects in India? What are the aspects in abroad right after doing bachelor's or masters from IIT Allahabad. And then there is one other, I would say, a trend in the industry. I want to know whether this is true or not. Like, you need to do some sort of a higher education in case of VLSI or other such technologies in order to, land for a decent job at any manufacturers or any electronic giants.
It's a really good question. I too had this when I was doing my bachelor's. Do we really need some experience to go into VLSI domain? So here's the thing. When you do bachelor's in IT and when you do a bachelor's in ECE, in IT, irrespective of whichever course you take, okay, everywhere you have a sort of the coding culture into this. So it's easy to get into a job, and as soon as you get into a company, you will be using those skills. But when it comes to the hardware, that too, especially VLSI, the level of information we gain during bachelor's is very less, and for that reason the companies expect you to be a master student, because in masters that is where you'll be doing some area of specialization and all. This is what exactly happened to me during bachelor's, because EC has various domains. You can go into VLSI, you can go into satellite radios, you can go into back end of the VLSI, front end of VLSI. So many areas are there. So BTech is not sufficient if you want to if you want to become a expert in some level to get prepared for an interview in VLSI domain, and hence you need masters. Having said that, people still get jobs in after bachelor's. I too worked at Mentor Graphics, a VLSI company, after my BTech. So the way it worked out is I did an internship over there. So during internship as well, you gain these skills. So uh, whatever you learn in your BTech fourth year in ECE, try to take courses at master's level. That also will really help you to get jobs. So don't just stick to the BTech jobs. So BTech courses. Yeah. So for that reason, as you mentioned, yes, it is always, especially in India, people expect people who do masters to get into as a fresher position into the VLSI companies when compared to BTech students. And probably that is one reason why BTech students look into most of the IT jobs at this point of time.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Rakesh, sir, for your inputs on this one. So another very pressing questions for all the graduates right now is basically there are some tech giants like Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, all the FANG companies. So and then there are startups which actually can offer really high growth, but slightly lesser stability, if I can say so. As a college fresher, what should I like? Is there a way to figure out which companies would be a good fit for me? Let's say maybe if my soft skills are not on that scale, I could like, and my tech skills are pretty good. All not generalizing anything, but this could be some questions around that. So how should I like as a graduate? How should I decide that whether should I get a FANG, prepare for a FANG company or prepare for a startup and take a high tech growth or high valued growth from any startup. So I would like Gunjit sir, do you have any comments on this one?
Sure. So yeah, having worked in both the worlds, giants like Amazon and then startups like Zephyr and Cred, right? So I think both are good. Both are really good. In large companies, definitely you get to work on scale, right? In startups, you might not get to work on a scale. So at Cred, I did get a chance, but at Zephyr, I didn't get a chance, right? And in fact, in few of the interviews after Zephyr, like people asked me, okay, you haven't worked on scale. So I had to point out to Amazon, see this is the work I have where I have worked at scale also, right? In large companies, you'll get to uh, so work on more on system designs, right? And system design as in like coding principles, like there we follow better coding principles. In startups, like we have the philosophy of fail fast. Sometimes people don't add test cases, right? And like it is not just their fault, it is how the company's culture is. um, but definitely at startup, the learning curve is really high. Right, you get to solve a lot of interesting problems. Uh, so I would say wherever like any like joining anywhere is fine. It depends on what type of problem you want to solve. you want to solve a problem of scale, or like which of the skills you want to improve on. Based on that, you can join a company. Only thing you need to ensure is you're doing good and meaningful work, and you have a high learning curve.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Kunjit sir. Samya ma'am, do you have any opinion about this one?
I think yeah, I would relay the same message more or less what Gunjit had said. But one thing I would like to add is that when you move from a startup kind of a culture to a big org or vice versa, you are taking your learnings with you, and apparently that is what you end up contributing. So even in prior to LinkedIn, I was also working for a startup, and the workload was tremendous. I was working 22 hours a day at times as well. That happens. But as a result of it, the learning curve, whatever I learned in a short span of 2 years, it was nothing in comparison to the 6 years I had spent earlier. So obviously there are gonna be trade-offs. You need to figure out what you want. So there have been questions around work-life balance or on which area do you want growth. So let's say suppose if you're aiming for scaling or if you're aiming for writing frameworks. So those kind of frameworks you can write only in a startup or maybe in open source. So you'll have to figure out what are the select few things that you want to target and then approach which offer you would like to accept.
Thanks, Samyam. And just to add one point, like I need clarity, and if someone can clarify, David sir or anyone. So there's a cog in the wheel theory, like you are just a cog in a giant wheel. If you're working for Amazon or let's say Google, you are just doing very small projects which even you don't know whether it has any impact or not. But in startup, like there's no zero bureaucracy. You can just spawn the devices, spawn any EC2 EMR cluster, and then do the processing overnight, create a product or a simple product, and productionize it. So what are your thoughts on this cog in the wheel theory? Is it true or is it slightly extrapolated?
It's true actually. So when I initially joined Amdocs, I was doing nothing for 1 year. And I think after, struggling a lot, I started getting some work, which is something which will not happen to you. It depends from company to company, of course. It's not that, when I switched to Symantec after Amdocs, I got a lot of opportunities to work on real things which mattered. I was working on a V1 product, and so it's basically totally. So whenever you are approaching your interviewer, you would definitely. So the first thing, one mantra that I always follow is, your interview is not an exam. Okay, it's a discussion where you and the interviewer together, you can ask questions. So at the end, they say that you have 5 minutes. Do you have any questions for me? Take that opportunity to understand where you're going to end up working, what kind of work will you be doing, and what would be the expectation from you, and what are you aspiring to do. So maybe once those expectations match up, it will be easier for you to decide which offer to accept.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, man. So I would like to go to Rakesh sir. Yeah, Rakesh sir, your thoughts on
Adding
this
to
one?
it, adding to it, when deciding between a startup and MNC, I would rather prefer look at the profile, look at the team size, look at the product on which they are working. So it is possible, it is highly possible that you end up in a startup where the leadership is not that great, that you don't have a proper mentorship to guide you in a correct way. On the same side, you may end up on an MNC where the team size is so big, okay, and the product is not that, I mean, the product is so mature that you don't get too much chance to innovate something new. So try to understand the product on which you're working, try to get the team size, and also these days companies, so I've seen with Apple, Facebook, and few companies, they're allowing the interviewee to talk to the team members, not as a part of interview, but after 1 or 2 rounds, they allow them to talk to the team members for 2 to 3 people for around 30 minutes, where they don't talk about any interview questions, but they ask about their current role, what they have been doing, what they have achieved from last 2 3 years. So it's not a bad idea. You can also ask, probably these days I have seen a lot of companies moving in that direction. because people are moving towards startups and thinking that in large companies, as you asked, they may not get a good chance to it. So I would like to add, look at the profile. You can ask, I guess you can ask the interviewer, these days companies are moving to, I'm not sure how it is in India right now with the startup and other companies, but yes, try to get a grip of that, because I too did my career starting with a startup. It didn't go well. So the company, in the sense, when I started, was very good, but later, because of the funds and other issues, it had to go down. Then I had to change my company, and then to intermediate company like Mentor Graphics, and then to Apple. Still, I want to go back to a startup, but yeah, at Apple right now I'm good. So the profile and the team size are very good. So yeah, just look at the product, and the team size is more matters.
Okay, thank you. Vinay sir.
Yeah, Vasu. So I think, see, this is again a very, very important and a key questions. And I think, in my opinion, see, the learnings you get from a startup versus, let us say, a more established organizations are very, very different. And it is a very personal question for individuals to answer. I'll probably contextualize it. So when you join a large organization, you actually see organization structure in place. You have people, processes defined. And now, if you put yourself in a startup and you probably imagine 5 years over there, it is you who would probably be responsible for creating those structures, right? So it is a very, very different kind of work you would end up doing, and hence different people have different personas. There are people, for example, who prefer to think in a more structured manner, who thrive when they are given a structured problem, right? And there are people who thrive in an abstract or unstructured nature. Startups are likely to be unstructured. Startup, you would obviously be code, but it is highly possible that you are also called in for a client presentation, that come and we are having this client presentation, and probably in the same day you are also solving an HR problem, that if you have a team member and you are required to counsel him. So the the kind of roles you would end up spending in a startup could be very different, and it will definitely give you uh, exposure to various skills. Now, whether I as an individual like to sort of thrive in such an unstructured environment versus I am more structured, I think that's for me as an individual to answer. This also has to be looked at, beyond obviously these aspects, the financial aspects of it. And I think that's where an individual's personal background may, and where they are in their personal life would become very important. See, if we just look at India, we have about, if I'm not wrong, between 65 to 75,000 startups. I think that was the last data I heard. And we have about 100 unicorns, right? And maybe if we probably extrapolate that a bit, maybe we can say we would have 1,000 or 2,000 successful startups in India. But essentially, we are saying we have probably a good 70,000 unsuccessful ones. So it is also, I think, important. I'm not scaring people, but where you are in your personal journey, right, has also what kind of liabilities you have, what kind of personal background you have. I think that also should be considered, when you are making this decision, because this may have long-term ramifications, right? So yeah, that's from my side.
Thanks, Vinay sir. And so, David sir, I'm just coming to you. I want to, want Tanish sir to chime in into this one because he haven't spoken in. Sorry, Tanish sir. You can chime in here.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I just wanted to, I already written in the chat actually. So I just wanted to say, ki, in the startup world, it will basically help you understand how, yeah, obviously most of the MNCs also follow this culture. But in most of the startup culture, there is like how agile system works and basically how they quickly change things based on the market. Okay. And most of the like MNCs, like, I mean, if you see most of the MNCs, they already have the legacy code which is running on from long time. Okay. And they try to actually focus on like I've written existing customers and give better service to them. Okay. And like they generally the go-to market strategy is that only. Okay. And compared to in startups, like basically you will understand the plethora of knowledge around end-to-end system. Like for example, from like when I worked on Qbol, okay, So you can say I worked from starting from the you can say how system how you submit a particular query, like you can say Spark query, till the end, like how even the inside the system how the query works, how the optimization works. Okay, it was a startup experience for me. So yeah, it was a very good experience when I joined a startup. But now as of today, like when I'm in Reserve Pay, yeah, obviously there's so many systems here. Okay, and today I am dedicated to work only on one particular system. Okay, and I'm handling only that part of it as of now. Okay, and yeah, obviously I don't have visibility like what other people are doing. Okay, and what technologies they are working on. Right now I'm only focusing on that part. So you can say down the line how it helps me when I'm working on the startup. It is actually increasing my knowledge horizontally. By horizontally I mean across the technologies I'm able to work on. But if you are working in an MNC, like yeah, you will try to go deep in a particular technology and try to explore more on that. That is what I have learned up till now. Okay, so this is my take on that on this up till now.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Tanisha. Over to you, David, sir.
Yeah, I think everybody talked about startups. I want to put a bit of thought on the big MNC point of view over here and speak on that particular side. So what everybody
Yeah.
said is correct. Like in a startup, you have wear multiple hats, and then your concept or your writing code to productization is faster. So you learn a lot at an accelerated pace. But on the other hand, let's say at a big company like Amazon, where there are established softwares, think of it from this manner that the smaller technical problems are solved, which means like you get to focus on what hasn't been solved in the technical world. So
Yeah.
you get to work at scale such as, let's say, S3, which is at a scale of S3, which has billions of API requests per hour. It would have to be solved in a very different technical manner than what you would do in startup. So again, depends on where you want to go. Like, do you want to do accelerated learning on building or shipping a product as soon as possible with whatever technology, or do you want to go deep into an area and work on perhaps the cutting edge part of it? So that's another thing that you can factor in your decision.
Yeah, thanks, Alyssa. And then final question is, which is a very pressing question, and everyone should chime into this particular question. So, does my campus placement decide my overall career? Like, does it have any impact, direct or impact? Let's say direct or indirect. Let's say if I had not landed onto a 10 plus job, so should I be worried out just after college? Like all my friends, all my batchmates have got like 10 plus, 20 plus jobs, and my first job is not that good. So will my first job impact my overall career? As a graduate, I'm asking this question, and this is the most common anxiety everyone has. That's why they want to That's why there's so uh, throat cutting competition within the during the placement season itself. That your first job will decide how your career will go. Uh, I think anyone can start. Soumya ma'am, what is your take on this?
Well, I think I'll let someone else answer. I'm
Yeah.
getting a
Sure. Let me answer that. I started with Samsung. Uh, it was not a 10 plus job. Like most of my friends worked, they got a job from campus in Amazon, few got in Google, Walmart, right? And like not just me, and many of my friends got like in companies like Samsung, few started with TCS, Infosys, right? But if I look back 8 years, I don't think it matters now. Like initial 1 year or the first job, I don't think it matters. It's just the start of the career, like right? The freshers today, what they are 21 or 22, they'll work for next 40 years, right? Agar if we assume like they'll work like 60, 62, right? 1 year or 2 years can't decide what your uh, career is going to be. What matters is like if you are learning or not, if you are growing or not. So you can learn at any place, any company, and then you can learn outside your work, which is very important, uh, especially in the tech field. Covering breadth and depth both are important. Not just like you should do work-wise learning, but outside your work you should go into depth, like you can create alternate projects, right? So there are a lot of ways to learn, and then you can any day like switch and change the jobs. And it's not just that you have to join a company, you can do your own startup also, right? So learning can come in any form, and growth also.
Sure. Thanks, Gunjit sir. David sir, your take on this one.
Yeah, so the company doesn't matter, but what you do after getting into the company, that matters a lot. So no, so it's not necessary that you get a very great offer out of the box. Let's say you go to a company perhaps which you didn't want to work for, but you join that. But what's important is that you expose yourself to challenging situations in that company. You get more experience in handling different scenarios in that company. You volunteer for those things. And why that's important is because, again, when you are switching jobs, one of the things, let's say somebody is coming to me and then I'm interviewing them for Amazon. There's this leadership principles section that I'm going to interview them for, where effectively I'm trying to see, has this candidate been faced enough complex situations in the past, or have they solved things which were, have they been put in difficult situations in the past, and how have they overcome it? If you go to a company and stop learning or don't push yourself or don't put yourself in challenging situations, you won't have answers to those questions. So your lateral switch would be difficult. So again, like what matters is it doesn't matter what company you join, but what matters is after you join that company, you don't stop your learning and volunteering and trying to achieve other things.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, David sir. To this, I just want to add one small comment to this is, so wherever you're going, try to, think from your own perspective, try to, enhance your skill set. There are options available, like Gunjit sir pointed that, you can do some parallel projects within, to enhance your skills. And in whichever role you are, make sure that you are slightly uncomfortable doing those tasks, so that you are keep on learning. You should not be like 100% uncomfortable that you are not understanding anything, but you should be on a slightly uncomfortable scale. You should be where you need to thrive, and you need to basically you know uh, increase or enhance your skill set in order to perform that particular job. Okay, in that sense, you will be constantly enhancing and upskilling yourself, and then eventually multiple offers come your way, because as Gunjit sir also mentioned, this is 35-year or 40-year long career, so you never know what kind of opportunity will come 2 years down the line. Okay. Tanish sir, do you have any take on this particular question?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page. Actually, you're right. Basically, your starting job will not decide your overall experience. Okay. Obviously, like it will just give you a start. Okay. And these days, like you can say, ki, like one of the questions it was mentioned ki whether it is like even if it is difficult to switch a job later on. I think I would suggest no. Okay. So even in my life, you can say ki, see, I have like worked on different text. You can say it doesn't matter. Like I started my career on Qball, okay, where I worked on, you can say, very basic things, okay, there. And after that, once I shifted to this world, SaaS platform world, it was very different experience for me, okay. So you can say I always wanted to work on big data world, but I didn't get that opportunity, okay, somehow. But then I started working on this banking platform side, fintech platform side, okay, and now it has another kind of experience. Now I'm kind of started liking that work, okay. So you can say uh, uh, yeah, they will always be the companies will always try to maintain the band of particular position. Like for example, there was one thing which I mentioned in the question ki, whether it is very difficult to switch to a job, and whether there is a parity in salary also. There is never a parity in companies will always try to maintain a parity in salary. Okay, there is a band which is always maintained. Okay, and according to that you will get it. Okay, so that is there, I think, overall. But yeah, I mean, overall, like Gunjit sir mentioned, okay, like you have 40 years, 30 years of like, work to do, okay, and initial years doesn't matter, okay, yeah.
Thanks, Tanish sir. So, can we open the floor, Aditya, for the questions for next 10 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Now everyone, now stage is open to all. Now you can ask your queries. while opening your mic, or you may write your queries in your chat box.
Or directly, if they are interested, they can unmute and they can ask. That is better.
Yep. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Sadi. I think, all the participants, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask any pressing question, which if we haven't, catered to, or if you need any other clarification or whatever we expressed, if you have any questions or queries regarding these.
If you are facing issue while opening your mic, then you may raise your hand.
So in every Q&A, for initial 2 minutes, none of the participants have any question, but after 2 minutes, everyone has 2 questions. Okay, so it's like that. So
Hello, sir. Good evening, sirs and ma'am. Actually, ma'am, I have a question that as you all said, I'm a MTech student, and we have to complete a thesis by the end of a 2-year program. So right now, we are preparing for the placement, and I want to ask that the thesis work that we are currently working on, we had not published that work. Can we put that work in our resume? I mean, my professor has uh, give 2 projects, but we have done mostly thesis work or report work on that. So I was thinking, and I didn't have many. The practical projects. So I was asking that although my project is not practical, but I have very detailed knowledge as I have referred to the thesis, research paper. So can I put that in my resume, or is it very necessary that the projects and resume should have a practical value or have the practical work?
I can start by answering that question. So, all right. So, unless until your work is not published, do not share all the details of, of your publication. Definitely, you can walk them through your problem statement, and you can share that what's the work that you have done and what kind of results you're getting. Maybe you might want to, you can always feel free to say that, this work has not been published, so I would not be able to reveal certain details. So you could work that out with your mentor as well. That's something that I had also done in my interview, and the interviewer was understanding, and they went ahead with that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
okay, all right. Any other questions that we can take?
Please, everyone, try to ask questions. As the Sir said, if you are feeling shy to share your questions, please share in the chat box.
Yep.
Hello everyone, I have one question. I am from MTech HCI batch. My question is that is there some special things we need to consider in online interview in compare to offline interview, because mostly we will have online interviews this year. So is there some special things or criteria do we consider?
Okay. So yeah. Anyone wants to take this one?
I think I can answer that question because I recently did a virtual interview bias non-bias course at LinkedIn, where we are we are trained basically. If you are taking an online interview, then what are the things you have to consider and what you don't have to consider. But some of the key things that I would say is that things that we have already talked about. So even if it is a virtual interview, please be presentable. You need to look serious, that you are serious about the job that's being offered. Try to ensure that you have a stable connection. Then at the same time, ensure that you are there in a place where there is you can calmly concentrate on the interview without being bugged by other things. always ensure that, if either choose a plain background, or you can choose right now the technologies allow you to select a lot of backgrounds as well. So those are some of the small tips and tricks by which you can escape the bias of the interviewer. That would be my recommendation.
Maybe just to add to Soumya, I think Soumya did cover the hygiene part of it, right? What probably the do's and don'ts. I think, see, in virtual interviews, naturally it is very difficult to establish that human connection. Obviously, you are seeing the person, but essentially it is a small screen on which you are seeing. So that human connection, which otherwise happens in an in-person interview, is definitely not there. So I think what I have observed in the interviews which I have taken in last probably 2 years, that candidates who had put in that extra effort in probably understanding the company, understanding the role, asking me questions about the role, right? Probably, some of them, they went ahead and even probably looked at the my LinkedIn own profile, and they tried to relate, that, okay, sir, this is what you did. And I think they try to relate it, So I think a bit of homework on the organization you are appearing for, the role you are appearing for, the interviewer, if who's going to be that person, if you can do a bit of that and use that information in your conversation, that might just bring that attention in this, virtual interaction.
Yeah. All right. And just to add to the points that are already pitched in, so try not to do any hanky-panky stuff during the virtual interview, because a lot of student thinks that we can get some code from here and there and then try to put it on the doc. So try avoiding that, because it gets evident in front of an interviewer. Okay, you might be feeling that you are doing it very cautiously, but it gets evident. So that is one point. The other thing is, if you're giving an virtual interview, then one advantage you have is you can put more and more data onto the doc that is already given to you. Okay, so let's say you are giving an interview on a Google Doc, so or any other compilable system. So what happens is, usually an interviewer take notes during the interview, and they basically take your interview notes also, and then they'll fill the feedback after like 2-3 hours, or maybe next day, or maybe after 2 days. So in that case, try to put as much data possible into the doc that you are on which you are giving interview. Try to put examples, because in virtual interviews, like a lot of the candidates have the habit of keeping a rough notebook, and then they solve everything on that rough notebook. But try to do all the rough work onto that doc itself. If you are giving, let's say, 2 or 3 approaches for a given problem, try to write time and space complexity. Try to put more data points. When the interviewer while filling the feedback, when they circle back and see the interview notes, they can have a lot of artifacts to judge you, basically, like this person gave 3 different approaches. Brute force one was this one, the optimized one was this one, and clearly mention approach 1, approach 2, what are the time and space complexities. Even if you are solving any data problem or any system design problem, then also try to put as much data point as possible onto these talks.
Adding to it, during online interviews, I would suggest to speak out loud, all your thinking process as well, because you are not in person. So he doesn't know what you're trying to do on your paper or something. So try to speak out loud your thought process, so that he's connected well to you throughout the interview.
And I think most important thing is, like, I have seen, like, most of the candidates when I take interview, try not to switch your eyes. Like whenever you are giving your interviews, no? Like, I have seen people try switching their eyes. Okay, don't, yeah, it's fine, but yeah, don't do that frequently. Okay, and yeah, as I think Bindesh sir also mentioned, read more about the company and interviewer first. Okay, and it will help them also, and they will also be you can say impressed by that thing. Okay, for what company you're interviewing for and what the company actually do. That is there, and yeah, be very communicative, and you should be very honest about everything. Okay, so that should be there. Yeah.
One last thought on this one. You should definitely have a stable internet connection, but let's say you don't, and sometimes there's disconnection in between. Please feel free to ask the interviewer, like, did you get my complete answer? Now, do you understand? So just make sure that interviewer has heard you out. Are we all on the same page? It's okay to ask these questions. And also about switching eyes, let's say there are sometimes people where they have a web camera on the screen and maybe another screen on the side where they are coding. So make it explicit to the interviewer. Tell the interviewer that, hey, you have two screens, you would be looking at over here and you would be writing code over there. So as long as, honest and be verbal about it, that's all.
So let's say I have just one thing to add. Let's say if you have difficulty explaining the solution, feel free to ask to share your screen, like whatever means works best for you. If you want to show it in your compiler, if you want to open a whiteboard and type it there, or Google Doc, whatever way you feel will be the best way for you, just ask for it politely. I don't think any interviewer will deny that request.
Yep. Yep. I think probably we can take one last question, and then we can call it off.
Sure, sir. So there is one question from my side. What are in the current scenario, in the COVID situation, I think the number of cases are already down. So what do you think? What organizations are actually preferring, online mode or offline mode?
I think in-person interviews.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So, I can tell about Google. So, as of now, there are no in-person interviews that have started, but there is a lot of discussion going on for having the on-campus or on-site interviews. People mostly, again, this is coming from a personal opinion. People mostly prefer offline mode because they can connect better, and then they can evaluate the candidate also better. But I would say as of now also, like even if everything becomes normal, still you will have like 50% will be there going forward. This is again like coming from a personal point of view.
So
Anyone
I
else?
just pasted a response in my chat. This is a saying from one of my founder actually. He recently pasted this thing. So remote work is very, very efficient for day-to-day execution due to reduced distractions and lesser commute time wastage. But it is very, very inefficient for strategic planning, and if you have to do any collaborative problem solving thinking, okay, and if you have to build something where few people are required, okay. So during that time, yeah, obviously online thing you have to go to office for that. Yeah.
So I think with the new normal of hybrid working, we are no closer to going back to office like for a 100%. This is something that we have to adapt to with even as a fresher or as a lateral, that at least 50% of your interviews would be virtual from going onwards.
Yep.
So
Just to add to, sorry, Soumya.
yes, please go ahead, Manish.
No, I think you please continue. I'll add on to you.
Yeah, so that is something that this is gonna happen. You can obviously, there are options where companies like Tesla, when they're coming back, they they ask you for your preference. So either they're going to call you, you'll have to fly down to a particular place, to a particular location, or you can go ahead with a virtual one as well. So yeah, this is something like a new normal, and like it or not, we have to adapt to it.
But I think during your initial years, because as a fresher, I think you can expect most of the time it will be like online only, okay, work from home for maybe 1 or 2 years, not going anywhere. But yeah, I'm just talking about that thing like for strategic planning and thinking. Yeah, maybe like once you have like 5 to 6 plus years of experience, it might be required to go to office also. Yeah.
But if you ask me as a fresher, should you go to office? I would say, yeah, try it out, definitely. Maybe not every day, but you should definitely take that experience because there's something you don't want to miss out on. Working in office, the growth could be high. Tanish already mentioned, right, what is good at work from home and what at office. But as a fresher, definitely you folks should visit office.
+1 to that.
In fact, just to probably add to all the comments, I think I have had I don't know, should I say privilege? But it in to be in some management call in my previous role as well as the current role. And to be honest with everybody here, when we get onto these management calls with CXOs, and fellow leaders, we ourselves are, to be honest, grappling with this question, that how much of hybrid is good enough, how much of remote is good enough, how much of online and how much of offline is, good enough or acceptable enough. Purely from a management perspective, see, remote working has its very obvious advantages, for the organization, not for the individual. For the individual, there are separate set of advantages. For the organization, there is cost efficiency, right? Administrative overheads are much lesser, right? You suddenly have access to a much larger talent pool because boundaries don't matter. But the challenge we are grappling with, is how do you build that culture? How do you really get people to associate yourself with the culture? And I think that is where Tanish made a very, I think, and Gunjit also, that if you get an opportunity to go to offices, please make use of that opportunity, because only then you will probably get assimilated in, let's say, quote unquote, the culture of an organization and probably be able to associate with it. Otherwise, what we are seeing in last 2 or 3 years is, people joining in, but they never have that connection with the organization. And this holds true for large organizations, which are very aspirational brands, as well as for smaller ones, right? So I think as fresh sort of campus graduates, when you join these organizations, if you get an opportunity, go to offices.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think
Thanks. Yeah.
we should wrap up then.
Yeah.
Okay, then thank you everyone. Thank you for your valuable time and making this this event very informative and successful. I hope everyone would have gained some important information. Thanks a lot, panel members, for being here and guiding us for our upcoming placements. And special thanks to Batsal sir for coordinating this event.
Nice.
Thank you.
Can I just have one
sir, please.
comment? Yes. Actually, our alumni are here. Actually, they may suggest me. Actually, we have started alumni newsletter, quarterly newsletter. So maybe one quick your suggestion. Can we include some alumni story or some small write-up for our students can read from your your experience. So if you feel that, I will invite a small alumni story or your suggestions or some interesting write-up maybe, which we will include in the newsletter. And because our newsletter goes to all the students also on everyone@IITA. So if you feel, Bindesh, what is your view? I mean, because I want to little increase the connectivity. So if you would suggest if some, section of the newsletter maybe for some alumni wants to address some our students or give their valuable advice through newsletter, whatever. Is it?
I think a very, very, very useful sort of thought, sir. I think very interesting thought. And I would probably just add that, let alumni not restrict just to probably sharing professional advice. I think on forums like these, which we keep doing that, I think there would be various aspects to the personalities of all our esteemed alumni.
Yes.
So I'm sure we may have some good storytellers, some good writers, some good poets. So I think, let the creative side come out. It's a very good idea.
So maybe I will request our alumni to send their some write-up. Maybe I have seen in other IITs, other places, sometimes they write some creative things also, not only professional, this thing technical, but some creative, like somebody is talking about meditation to their is current students, how meditation will help them and kind of things. So some general things also. So maybe I will request our alumni who want to send, and we will include, because we are going to publish next quarterly newsletter after June. So if you, Divij, your view, anything, if you suggest to improve our newsletter, just quick, because it is ending. So I thought of, can we include any new thing in our newsletter, like this kind of a small article from our newsletter, our alumni?
I think, yeah, I have a great idea, sir. I think that would help in the connection. But more than the newsletter, I think this is one of the good forums where, you know, students asked us question. I think we should have more opportunities to answer questions for these students. So I think this is a thing to for all the students. Like, don't be shy. Like, put it on. We have a triple ITA Facebook group. We have you have our email addresses. If you ask the alumni coordinator, like, they'll give you our email addresses. So don't just restrict yourselves to ask questions during such events. Like, feel free to, you know, out of these events, feel free to connect with us. And I think all of your alumni would be very happy in supporting you and answering your questions, because we were at a stage where you are now, and we knew that we had those questions and we wished somebody would have answered those for us. So please keep the questions coming in.
And a very important thing in the IT industry is that you keep networking. So as much as questions and as much as, you know, you talk to your peers, your seniors or your juniors, you're going to get more inside information and you can make better decisions regarding your career.
Sure. Thanks, Anupam sir. Thanks for this, beautiful webinar planning and everything. And personally, I have learned a lot from this conducting this session, from everyone, for alumni and from students also. Like, I real time got to know about the queries, or the difficulties or challenges that they are facing right now, during their placements or before their placements. So it's been a very good learning experience for me, and I hope same for everyone as well. So on this note, I would like to end this webinar, and please feel free to keep your queries coming to us. There are multiple channels, like we have IIIT Allahabad alumni LinkedIn group, LinkedIn page, and then Facebook group as well. And you can reach out to us through multiple channels. And if you want, we can share our email addresses also. So keep your questions coming to us, and we'll be happy to help with any queries or concerns.
Very big thanks to Dr. Anupam sir for organizing such a wonderful event, sir.
Thank you. Thank you all.
We have reminded our college career in IIITA. Once again, we got to remember. Thank you, sir, for organizing wonderful event.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for sparing your valuable time and helping us. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Bye.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye.
Have a nice day.
Thank you all.